I love dark folklore, and I'm guessing because you're here that you do too. Let's stay in touch. All of my socials are listed below. And remember, if you want to help the channel, then like, share and subscribe. Enjoy. In The Witch of Coggeshall, I came to a beautiful Essex village to uncover the story of a widow who was accused of witchcraft. But that's not all that Coggeshall is famous for. Next, I'm going to look for a man who chronicled a visit from the fairies. As a young man, Ralph of Coggeshall was very well travelled, a real-life cadfael. He went to the Holy Land on the Third Crusade. Back in England, he became the abbot of a Cistercian priory in Essex, and fortunately for us, some of it still survives, integrated into a house. I was lucky enough to be able to look at what remains of the cloister. Ralph spent quite a bit of time adding to the Abbey's chronicle. It's full of anecdotes and stories. One of these anecdotes involved the village of Woolpit, about 26 miles north of here. Ralph tells us that the Woolpit locals discovered a couple of strange children. They were wearing strange clothes, they didn't speak the local language, and they were green. It all sounds pretty unlikely, but another chronicler from around the same time left pretty much the same story. William of Newburgh was an Augustinian canon from Yorkshire, quite a bit north of Woolpit. Their accounts differ in a few minor details, but they do pretty much tell the same story.
A wonder happened in Suffolk, at St. Mary, Woolpit. A boy was found with his sister near the mouth of a certain pit that is situated there. In the shape of their whole bodies, they were like other people, but they differed in the colour of their skin from all the mortal inhabitants of our world, for the whole surface of their skin was dyed with a green colour.
This was known to have happened in England in the time of King Stephen. Near the village can be seen certain very ancient ditches which are called wolf pits. Out of these ditches at the time of harvest, there emerged two children, a boy and a girl. Their bodies were all green, and they were dressed in clothing of an unusual colour, made of an unknown material. They wandered dazed through the field, and were caught by the harvesters.
So they were taken as a curiosity to the house of Sir Richard Khan at Wicks. Bread and other foodstuffs were set before them, but they were unwilling to eat any of the food that was offered them, although they were tormented by great hunger. They believed all foodstuffs of this sort were inedible. At last, when some beans newly cut with their stalks on were carried into the house, they made signs with great eagerness that some of the beans should be given to them. They opened the stalks, not the bean pods, thinking that the beans were contained in the hollow of the stalks. But when they didn't find the beans in the stalks, they began to cry. The bystanders opened the pods and showed them the naked beans. They ate them with great joy, and would touch no other food at all for a long time.
They were nourished by this food for several months, until they learned the use of bread.
The boy always suffered a sort of weakness and died in a short time, but the girl enjoyed continuing good health. Becoming used to all sorts of food, she totally lost her green colour, and she gradually recovered the ruddy appearance of her whole body. She was afterwards regenerated by the cleansing of holy baptism, and stayed for many years in the service of the same knight. but she remained very wanton and impudent.
It is said she later married a man at Lynn, and she was said still to be alive. Now, when they had the use of our language, they were asked who they were and where they were from. And they replied, "We are people from the land of St. Martin, who is held in particular veneration in the land of our birth."
She claimed that all the inhabitants and all things that existed in that country were dyed with a green colour. They saw no sun, but experienced a sort of light like that occurs at twilight.
Our land is scarcely illuminated by its rays. It gets only the amount of light that among you precedes sunrise or follows sunset. We only remember this. One day, when we were pasturing our father's cattle in the field,
when they were following the cattle, they had come into a certain cavern. When they entered it, they had heard the beautiful sound of bells. Captivated by the sweetness of the sound, they had gone on wandering through the cavern for a very long time, until they reached a way out of it. When they came out from there, they were stunned and struck senseless, as it were, by the brightness of the sun and the unusual warmth of the air. And for a long time they lay at the mouth of the cave. Then they were terrified by the noise of the people coming towards them and tried to flee, but they could in no way find the entrance to the cave before they were caught.
when they were asked whether Christ was believed in there or whether the sun rose, they said the land was Christian, and there were churches there.
What are we to make of the two green strangers? Had the 12th century people of Suffolk had a visit from the fairies?